I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Yossi Beilin and Hiba Husseini. Their tireless efforts in advancing peace and reconciliation across divides are a true inspiration. Their vision and dedication remind us that a peaceful future is possible if we have the courage to embrace new approaches. I wish you all insightful discussions and a productive event. Let us continue working together to achieve a diplomatic resolution to this long-standing conflict. With warm regards, Martin Schulz. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow members of the Academy for Cultural Diplomacy and our partners, supporters of the Berlin Initiative, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to have the chance to open our afternoon session of the launch of the Berlin Initiative. I have good news and bad news. The bad news is when you invite someone like Martin Schulz, who's very important for his party and for Germany, and you have negotiations for new governments taking place, you always run the risk, of course, that he can be called, which is actually exactly what happened. So unfortunately yesterday we got a phone call that he's needed for the negotiations, and I hope that they're successful. I hope Germany soon will have a active government, but he wasn't able to come in person. The good news is he did write a very nice endorsement of the Berlin Initiative. He's been a longtime supporter of Yossi, of Hiba, of the initiative, and I'd like to just take the opportunity to briefly read his endorsement. And then we had the good idea last night. Why don't we use this opportunity for something that was missing yesterday, multilateral discussions. Yesterday we didn't take any questions. So we'd like to change that today. Since we have Yossi, since we have Hiba, Andre Azulai, Miguel Martino, so many amazing experts here in the room, let's use that opportunity. So it's a chance also afterwards for us to engage, to address issues that we didn't address so far, analyze, offer support, offer help, really anything. So we're looking forward to the session very much. But let me begin by just briefly reading this endorsement from Martin Schulz. So he's writing this on behalf of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, the foundation that he's heading for Sitzender. Berlin Initiative for a Diplomatic Solution to the Israeli-Palestinian Conflict, Berlin, March 4th, 2025. Dear distinguished guests, it is with great regret that I am unable to be with you in person today. Due to urgent political commitments, I had to cancel my participation at short notice. This is particularly painful for me, as today's event represents a crucial effort in fostering diplomacy and peace in the Middle East conflict. The work of the Berlin Initiative, and in particular, the concept of the Holy Land Confederation, presents a valuable approach to addressing long-standing challenges. The idea of two sovereign states cooperating under a common framework, inspired by the European Union model, holds immense potential for a sustainable peace solution. The fact that Israeli and Palestinian leaders are working together on this vision is a sign of hope. Germany must play a key role in supporting this process, through clear, consistent policies and a genuine commitment to rebuilding trust in the region. The Friedrich Ebert Stiftung remains committed to providing its ongoing support for this important endeavor. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Yossi Beilin and Hiba Husseini. Their tireless efforts in advancing peace and reconciliation across divides are a true inspiration. Their vision and dedication remind us that a peaceful future is possible if we have the courage to embrace new approaches. I wish you all insightful discussions and a productive event. Let us continue working together to achieve a diplomatic resolution to this long-standing conflict. With warm regards, Martin Schulz. And I would now give the floor to Yossi and to Hiba to maybe launch the discussion, and we look forward to an interactive session. Once we do the interactive session, I'd ask you to please raise your hand if you'd like to make a comment or pose a question, and then also briefly introduce yourself so we know who you are, and we'll get a sense for the great diversity in the room. So please, Yossi and Hiba.
Thank you very much. I mean, in such a session, it's either people are eager to ask questions, or maybe they forgot it from yesterday. So the other option is that we who are so much involved with this issue for the last years would ask ourselves these questions. And it might be a little bit boring if we do that. But it is the only substitute to your questions. So my first question would be, are you crazy? Are you suggesting now a marriage between the Palestinians and the Israelis after what happened since October the 7th, 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago? You really believe that anybody will take it seriously? How was it? Okay, fine? Okay. So Hiba, maybe you should... We did not prepare it in advance.
No, we did not. We did not. Certainly, we did prepare to that. Well, thank you very much again, and it's good to be here with you, sharing our insights. One question would be for the Palestinians. I mean, Hiba, are you really totally insane to think of a confederation when we still are under occupation? That when we are split between Gaza and the West Bank, when we don't know when we will have statehood, when Israel is controlling all the elements of anything related to peace, and we seem to be farther away today from peace. That's one big question that the Palestinians would be asking me.
And the answer now.
You didn't answer. Why would I answer?
Sorry, Padre, allow me to ask one question.
We are in the midst of our questions. Sorry. The answer is that, first of all, usually peace treaties are signed after wars. I mean, people who were in school in history lessons should remember it. So you don't make peace, just get up in the morning and say, why won't I make peace with France? There is no need to make peace with France for us. It's okay, peaceful, the relations. You make peace with your enemy, and usually it is after wars. You know, I even remember something which I hated when I heard it, and I hate it still, but I can share it with you. Some of the people told us after Oslo, you need a real war before there is peace. And I said, why? Why? In order to learn the obvious reason that war is not a solution but a problem, that you must make peace with the other side, that people are the same everywhere, that all the people have the same rights, deserve the same rights, and should get them. This is why you have to fight and to sacrifice your own people and the others. I must say that I was perhaps a little bit too optimistic, saying the rational thing between Israel and Palestine after so many years, and I'm speaking about 93 now, after so many years, is to sit together. We have a small area of 6,200 square kilometers. You know, it is almost a joke on the Palestinian side. This should be the basis for the border, with some land swaps. And the holy places, I mean, for the holy places, sovereignty is not a must. You can meet God without a sovereignty on her or his place, whoever he is. So you can easily find a solution here, theoretically. And then when I heard this kind of an answer, especially from one of my best friends, I must admit that I appreciate him and I have very good relations with him until now. He said, Yossi, it will not happen before a big war. And I asked him, how many people should we sacrifice? How many people will the Palestinians sacrifice in your view? And he smiled to me. Now, what we had in the last months is a crazy situation. I mean, what happened on October the 7th is a crazy, crazy attack and massacre involving children, babies, kidnapping babies. It is really inconceivable. And the Israeli retaliation wasn't a retaliation of a very strong army, which actually blew it on the 7th of October and then proved its power. And so many people were killed. And it is always the civilians, those who are less involved, uninvolved, disinvolved, whatever. So here we are. And I mean, the only idea is to make peace between the two parties. The only idea. And we are coming with a solution for a very specific issue which prevents peace between the parties. And that is the settlements and the settlers. We suggest something specific. We believe that if it is adopted by the parties as it is agreed upon by our two groups, then the way for peace is paved. And we have so many examples, like France and Germany after the Second World War, and you name it, that the biggest enemies became partners and built joint institutions, and the institutionalization of cooperation made them even much closer than before, and generations of good relations and friendship between the two parties. And this is actually what we suggest now. So it is not contradictory to the situation of hatred which exists today. And we must admit it on both sides, because this is the time to make peace. And we know how to do it. Monsieur?
You want my answer? Okay. Well, again, this is an opportunity to re-engage and re-engage on all the issues. We are not leaving one issue off the table, and we are putting Jerusalem on the table. And we are putting the issue of the settlers and the settlements and the refugees and the borders. So this is a formula to end the conflict, and we should engage. This will give us the state that we have been looking forward to have, a recognition. Recognition is very important. A lot of the details will be worked out. I think this will give us peace. It will provide for the security of the Palestinian people as well. This is a formula that is based on mutual interests, mutual future together, where we share, and we put an end to this conflict once and for all. It's not naive, really, because there are a lot of details. We understand that there are a lot of details to be worked out. But we have been fighting for the last 75 years, and we have not been able to reach the resolution of this conflict. So we believe this is... my people have to see that this offers them a future where they will live peace with the state of Israel. We cannot continue denying each other. We cannot continue ignoring each other, and we cannot continue killing each other. So this is one way of going forward.
Yes. I'm Dr. Ramsey. I'm one of the representatives of the United Kingdom, Muslims, and human rights activists. I've been over 50 years activist, talking to many Jewish, Christian, and Muslims, leading many interfaces, and been involved, as I said, over 50 years in Palestine. Since Yossi told me, and of course the group which we had, the group of the coming to speak at that time was everything glory can be helped. Since that time I'm helping. I'm trying, as I said, human rights activist, not a Palestinian activist, not a Jewish activist. I see everybody as a human First, I see them as a human. Secondly, as a religion. First come human, and the other one. If we say we are a Jewish human, or are you Palestinian human or not, we say first we are human and we're going forward. Now, it's very simple if the heart to it. Both religions, I read it again. I said I'm going to take time. Both read it at least 100 times. Your Tanakh, the Bible, the Old Testament, the Torah, the Psalm, and all. And we are in a dialogue with the UN. UN is the headquarters of the Jewish, which we are talking about the helping. And of course, I'm sure that our honorable friend Mark knows we have been many times in the United Nations. What we need to do here, we have to be sincere. First, sincere. Sincerity converts trust. If we don't trust each other, we can not do anything. I am a registrar for marriage and divorce. As you said, my friend, is that marriage going to come back? I'm a registrar for marriage and divorce. I saw they come in, the people wanted divorce and they get a child. I saw the child, he hold the hand, the man threw that again. He says, get to the I don't want. And say, hey, take it easy. Is it United Kingdom? You know. And after that, after 2 hours I was speaking, they kiss and cuddle and they gone for a pizza. Did you hear what happened? What I done, I brought the time of they were in love with each other. They were in bed to each other. The child was a produce of love. These are which we have to approach with our religion, our books is exactly the same. 65% of my Quran, the book, is from the Torah and the Old Testament. Therefore, we have to be missing these ones. We think we can do it with the political, with the arm, and we cannot get anywhere. As you know, my dear sister, you said 75 years. And 74 or 5 years, we're going exactly the same. If the Palestine stays. I told exactly to the president of Kashmir, Sir Thomas Khan, which I was his advisor. I said, you have to go in the right direction. Now they go in the right direction. What we need to do, we need to talk. Cultural diplomacy, religious diplomacy, that's work for us. We are both love our God, and we are, you believe me, we love each other. I love the Jews. There is not a problem. I say I love the Jewish, I love the Christian, I love Muslim, and that free religion is the one Abrahamic religion. And if I say one child, for example, many, as I said, one child is hurting herself, doesn't matter you're Christian and Muslim and Jews, you're going to help her to survive. These are very important. We work bottoms up and we go forward. Many, 90% of the Jewish in Israel, they are pro-peace. And 90% or maybe 95% of the Palestinian for peace. What we need to do, we need to forget on. Otherwise, they are not going to forget. You kill. He said, you kill my mother, my daughter, my son, my dad. I'm killing your daughter, your son, your dad. And it goes on and on and on, like a tribe which we got for 1,000 years is going. 1,000 years, Shia and Sunni, they kill each other. These are going unless some very, very wise-headed people come together. I said 50 years I'm there, I'm trying to do it, I didn't do it. But of course I've got a little bit of experience. We can do it. We can take a Hamas off, they say, brother, for you. We can. There is no problem. And we can take a Netanyahu up as he says, no problem. I'm sure your people says, no problem. These are find the problem. When you go into the doctor, he looks, he examines you. He doesn't put say, oh, get a plaster on a big wound. It's a big wound, you put in a plaster on it. We don't want to be plaster, we want to do once and for all. Take it off, which the poor Jewish people, which I love them as well again, I said, they don't suffer. As the little things come in, everybody goes to bunker. And yes, everybody goes to bunker. 200,000 people decided to go to. This is long term has an effect on their bodies. You understand?
We understand.
Thank you.
Bodies, therefore, what we need to do in here.
This is exactly what we are trying to do. This is exactly what we're doing. And this is where we would like to take this conflict, is to end this conflict, end this pain and suffering. We have diagnosed, we are proposing an answer to this conflict through this framework.
Opinion of a diagnosis, and we'll tell you what.
So,
And God
No,
bless
no,
you.
really, there are other people here who
let's,
want to ask
God
God bless
questions.
you. I said thank you and God bless you.
thank you
you.
very much. We'll give the mic to somebody else.
Anne.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Pleasure.
Annie, please. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's all well to have visions and so on, and that's what we have now. And the idea of the confederation to form a two-state solution is excellent. But the question is, how do we go from that idea to reality? And that's always the difficult question. So I have two questions for you. One, in Israel today, you have the peace camp, and that is of course very weakened after the 7th of October, because there were so many at the kibbutzes that were very, very much filled with activists, peace activists, who are now not there anymore because of the losses and so on. So that side is weakened. Is there any groups, parts, everything on the so-called government side that you think could be open to start negotiation? What kind and whom, and because you have to have kind of a mass that will be ready to do this, otherwise it's not possible. Second question, I'm very sorry, but everybody knows you will not be able to do this alone. It will not be able to have Israel and Palestine alone. We had before the quartet, it was UK, EU, UN, it was US and Russia. Now there is weakened, both US, Russia, UN is weakened. Who can play that part of being kind of the umbrella of real talks now, when you have such a volatile situation among the big powers that before could play a role, like US did, like UN did, and so on? Have you had any ideas about that? Because I'm sure that is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it will just stay on a conference status and not be reality. Thank you.
You wanted to answer the Israel one, the coalition.
Oh, okay.
I'll take up the one on the fact that the Israelis and the Palestinians cannot, I agree totally, we cannot do it alone. Obviously, we have tried and we have not been able to do it. And we have become more and more distrustful of each other, more and more polarized. The societies are also very separated from each other. I mean, you have a situation where the youth of Israel and the youth of Palestine don't interact at all. So we have generations of the young and who have become now young adults and people in their 30s who were born after Oslo, after 1992 and 93, and they don't see each other, they don't relate to each other at all. So it's going to be a very difficult task, I realize that. And your point is very well taken in terms of the fact that the US has kind of withdrawn. Europe is extremely busy. We've had a discussion earlier today among ourselves on this very point, and maybe our colleagues here will shed some light on this point as well. Europe is very busy, of course, with Ukraine, especially after the decision made by Trump with relation to Ukraine and to stopping the arms supplies and so forth, and the intelligence and what have you. So we believe that there is still an opportunity to capitalize on the fact that there is growing Arab interest, especially Saudi Arabia, with respect to the two-state solution. The position, as I understand, of course, of other Arab states and Morocco as well, is that the two-state solution is on the table. It is not off the table. So we have to garner the support and maybe get a new European Arab umbrella to help us work through, and I think I would like to invite perhaps Mr. Moratinos to comment on this point, and maybe Mr. Azulay as well.
Maybe Robert would say yours.
Well, I'm asked to comment about Europe. We had this morning a discussion. But by the way, let me first introduce myself, because I don't know many of you, and you heard me, I think, yet. I'm Robert Seri. I used to be the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process during 2008, from 2008 to 2015. 7 long years where there were still peace talks, but also 3 wars in Gaza. And I saw it going down. And I was one of the first to term the situation as a one-state reality, no longer going in the direction of a two-state solution. I'm now also involved with Ukraine, and that is also, I think, why I'm asked actually to comment on what is happening. I think what we should realize also is that since the re-election of Trump, relations between the United States and Europe are going down very, very fast. We've first had the first warning in Munich when G.D. Vance was actually telling us that we were not a liberal democracy apparently anymore. He was supporting, in particular, also the illiberals among us. He went afterwards on a tea visit with Frau Weidel. And I know how this has shocked the Germans in this room. The second warning came last week. The way he treated President Zelensky, who has been fighting with the Ukrainian people against aggression, I believe. And these are the facts, but the facts are no longer the facts in the White House. And you all know how he was treated. And now the third thing that has happened overnight is that President Trump has now decided to stop sending any weapons to Ukraine. This will lead to a European reaction. I hope. It is late, but in particular here in Germany. And for Germany to say this, by the way, that we now need a European defense force, rather than that umbrella we have relied for so long, and maybe too long, the US umbrella in terms of NATO. So these are momentous changes, and they will have consequences for the Middle East as well. I don't have to recall what happened in the Middle East. There was another big stone which Trump has been throwing into the Middle East pond, his Gaza Riviera idea, which is basically amounting to ethnic cleansing, if it ever happens. That's a war crime, by the way. So we are here also faced with, I cannot personally consider, as a diplomat, I've been working to help the Americans. And you have too, no doubt. Now I can't consider the United States anymore as the leader of the free world. So this will have also consequences for what we are discussing here, peace in the Middle East. We cannot no longer rely on the US. It means that the Arabs have to take the lead. And fortunately, I see some positive signs. In particular, Saudi Arabia has been taking the initiative, the reaction also to what happened, the proposal, this proposal of Trump. We may hear more about this today. We will see. But I think also that this is a time for Europe and the Arabs to get together and no longer to look for US leadership in resolving the crisis in the Middle East. This is at least what I have been discussing today with the group, and we will be. I'm moderating, and later today we will have another session about that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leila Ali Elmi. I'm a Swedish MP for the Green Party. And my question is connected to the session you guys had yesterday evening. And I wholly stand by the two-state solution, and so does my country, Sweden. But I'm gonna specifically ask about the thing that you proposed concerning the Israeli settlers that want to stay in the future state of Palestine, that they should be allowed to do so, and also the Palestinians that retain rights in Israel should remain to do so. That proposal is individual based. It's based on individual choice, the way you put it yesterday evening. And therefore my question, because it's based on individual choice, it would be a very unpredictable thing, because individual choice is very hard to predict. So do you have like mechanisms for balance and fairness in that proposal? You understood my question.
Yeah, it could not be more balanced than our proposal. I mean, we are saying that the same number of settlers who would like to remain in the state of Palestine in the future will be the quota for Palestinian citizens who, rather than living in Palestine, would like to move to Israel and become Israeli permanent residents and remain Palestinian citizens. So you cannot do something which is more balanced than that. Speaking about the previous question about whether Israel is open for that, I have a long answer for that, but I'll shorten it, and I will say never. Israel is never ready. The others are never ready. Before evacuating the Sinai Peninsula, 3 times bigger than Israel, more than 70% of the Israelis were against giving up on the Sinai Peninsula. After Begin returned the Sinai Peninsula, the whole of it, to Egypt, more than 70% supported him. What does it mean? Actually, people everywhere in the world want the same things. They want to live in peace. They want their kids to be happy and to study and whatever. We are very, even if we believe that we are very unique, we resemble each other very much. And if there is a leadership on the Palestinian side, on the Israeli side, which is ready to make peace, no one will prevent it. No one. Which means something about bottom up and top down. Bottom up is very, very important to sustain peace. But to go for peace, it is top down. You need a moment of the meeting of the star meetings in order to go for that. You know, what happened to us was that Yitzhak Rabin went to, in 92, to his campaign, using the slogan that I will negotiate peace with the Palestinians, or I'll have an agreement, to be accurate, I'll have an agreement with the Palestinians between 3 and 6 months. So he said. He didn't have any plan. He had an idea. Some crazy people prepared the plan. So after a few months, 2, 3, the media already said, hey, Mr. Rabin, what about your peace plan? And we came to him and said, we are meeting in Norway and we have a joint paper. What do you think about it? He grabbed it like this. Which means you need a point in time for which you are already prepared, and then you can offer your idea. This moment can happen tomorrow. Can happen tomorrow, and can happen later on. But you should always, I mean, the people of peace should always be prepared with peace plans. Mm-hmm. And it is not necessarily for 50 years from now. It can happen tomorrow. And so I'm not pessimistic. I mean, had we waited for the people of Israel to talk to to support talking to the PLO, You know that more than many others. It was, I mean, when I succeeded to go for the third reading of the law, which forbade, which actually ended the boycott on the PLO and allowed people, Israeli people, to talk to the PLO, Rabin himself went to the Knesset and said, the fact that this law was changed doesn't mean that we are going to talk to the PLO. Only the fact that we forbade any contact with PLO people are wavered. And he didn't know that we have already talked with the PLO there once the law passed. So, because he understood that if he says that the change in the law is opening the door for negotiations with the PLO, it will be very difficult for him to explain why. And then after we signed the Oslo Agreement, a big majority of Israelis supported it. I couldn't cross the street. I couldn't cross the street. And I asked myself in '93, how is it? The almost unbearable is. It is frightening also. It's not so simple, but we know already from our experience, you need a bold leadership. It takes decisions, people are excited, go to the streets, kiss the peacemakers, and hand over flowers to the soldiers of the other side, as it happened in '93.
Thank you. Hamza Yusuf, former First Minister of Scotland. Can I thank Yossi, Hiba for their reflection so far? One reflection I had looking at the excellent programme over today and tomorrow, and even when I think about yesterday's evening session, one omission that is glaring off the page is there doesn't seem to me to be the voices of the young and the youth both in Palestine and in Israel. And this is the segue to my question, which touches upon Yossi's last remarks, is that it is clear when you need decisive political leadership that believes in peace, with Netanyahu, Abu Mazen, and Hamas, you have a complete failure of leadership. And what we have is that we don't have a leadership that will promote peace. And for Yossi, I suppose my question, and then I'll come to Hiba if she doesn't mind. For Yossi, my question would be, post-October the 7th, it's clear that many people in Israel do believe in peace. We see demonstrations in Tel Aviv in particular. We have people like you, Yossi. We have organizations like Standing Together, like Yachad, who are progressive movements led by Jewish Israeli people. But with elections in 1.5 years in time in Israel, do you believe that because of the attacks, horrific attacks on October the 7th, the peace movement in Israel has been hit too hard to be able to remobilize in order, in time for the elections? I think they're next year, October next year, but you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And so are they able to mobilize? And do you believe that those moderate parties will be able to mobilize and organize in time for the election, so that we have at the top political leadership that believes in peace, whatever that model looks like? And for Hiba, I suppose my question is almost the mirror of that. Where is the next generation of political leadership that represents the youth of Palestine, who, I thought you made this point incredibly well yesterday, who don't simply from birth believe that their only purpose is resistance, but actually their purpose is to be an equal citizen with the Israelis and the rest of the world community. And given all of the experience, my friends to my right in particular, their decades of experience, your decades of experience in these matters, what is the advice in terms of whether we or how do we support the leadership both in Israel and Palestine that wishes to see peace in the future? Thank you.
Go ahead.
About Israel, I can only tell you from the public opinion polls, which are published every week. Netanyahu could not form a government since a year and a half, according to the polls. No chance. I mean, the gap between the former coalition and the current coalition is more than 10 seats. Now, so this is one of the reasons that he doesn't want to have elections. I mean, people are asking him to have early elections, but he says no, he has the right because he was democratically elected, but he has no chance according to the polls, which doesn't mean that he will not be re-elected, you know. But he has no chance according to the polls. So I'm far from being pessimistic about it. The sad thing is that if Naftali Bennett, who was a prime minister for a year, runs for the elections, now he is out of the parliament, he resigned, but if he runs for the elections, he has a very good chance. He gets mostly the votes of the right, but still he has a good chance to be elected. And there is a situation in which he might become the next prime minister. My very good friend, Nitzan Horowitz, who sits here, served on his government, and he is telling me that Bennett is a nice person and pragmatic. So it was a kind of a comic relief after so many years of Netanyahu and before other years of Netanyahu. But he is against the two-state solution, and I don't believe that the peace camp should give him a hand in the next elections to become the prime minister. But I would say that the prospects for the opposition to Netanyahu to win the next elections are very, very high.
But not replaced by somebody who believes in the two-state solution?
I don't know. I didn't say so. I'm saying that Bennett now has a better chance than others, but it doesn't mean that, for example, just a few days ago, the former chief of staff who lost his son in the war hinted that he was ready to lead a new party. And he's very popular. He's a very serious man, and he is committed to peace. So it's too early to judge. What I can only tell you is what are the results of the elections, of the public opinion polls. And we all know that they are not accurate.
On the Palestinian side, you're asking a very fundamental question because obviously we haven't had elections in a long time. Abbas has opposed holding elections for fear of losing. But at the same time, he has not worked to reform Fatah and to reform the Palestinian Authority and to reform the PLO and so forth and so on. He has opposed all of this. So we do have a major challenge going forward. But I believe that there's a lot of talent in Palestine. We're not short of talent, and we're not short of Palestinians who have a natural understanding of the politics. So with elections, we could have a shift in terms of new faces coming on board if they are given a chance. So on the Hamas issue, Hamas is certainly after October 7th weakened. It is far less popular than it used to be in Gaza. It has some support in the West Bank, certainly. But it's not a question or a choice between Fatah and Hamas today. Today, we are talking about having new leadership to lead the Palestinian people towards a two-state solution. So I think the fundamental question for us would be to urge Abbas to hold elections as soon as the situation permits it, the day after Gaza, so forth and so on. Once we have this war and the ceasefire coming to an end, it is essential. Abbas will not live for long, I mean, by virtue of his old age. I mean, he's almost 90. And he has not been able to get the legitimacy, or rather he's been losing legitimacy on a daily basis in terms of the governance in the West Bank and so forth. And he has also been seen as someone who has abandoned the Gaza Strip and has allowed Hamas to grow in terms of its popular support and so forth and so on. So we really need to drive in the fact that we have to have more participation. We have to have the reform in the governance, and we have to give the youth, not the youth, I mean, we're talking about the newer generations of Fatah and others, and the independent parties to flourish and to develop the platform that would allow the two-state solution to materialize.
Well, I try to answer the, Hiba comment, but let me first to agree with both of you to agree about what you said. You are in an existential moment. We are in an existential moment for both sides.
Yes.
And for the regional, international, community. And so you are an existential fight. It's very difficult to try to convince the other side. It's very difficult because you are fighting for yourself. But the people who are acquainted with the problem and the conflict, they know that is the last chance. We are not in Oslo. We are not in, different attempts, Clinton parameter. No, we are the last chance. So this message of existential survival of both should be transmitted to the parties and to the societies, even we have very few chances. Every time I have a lecture about the conflict, I start quoting two very famous quotations of two great personalities. The first was President Charles de Gaulle in his first trip to Levant. He said, "Je m'envole au Levant complexe avec des idées simples. I'm flying to the complex Levant with simple ideas." What it means? The complexity of the problem, number one. The second quotation was Jean-Paul II, after his trip to the region. He said there's only two options, two proposals. One is a real proposal, the other the divine proposal. And he said, the real proposal needs a miracle. And the divine proposal needs that the two parties decide to make peace. But with these two quotations, I will tell you, less complex situation. We need a miracle, yes, but miracles have to be working with the parties in order to achieve that they have to overcome this existential conflict. And they come your proposal. I know it's very difficult, Yossi. I know that now in Israel it's impossible. I know that in Palestine to talk about Israel is very difficult, but we, the people who are in favor of peace and a diplomatic solution, have to engage, and with your proposal we should. So, thinking out of the box on how to work. You mentioned how to revise the quartet. Well, it's my creature. I was part of the, but it's over. The quartet is over because we're in a different world. So how we enlarge the quartet, how we create a new mechanism, and then will come the idea of Euro-Arab. But to have Euro-Arab, we have to get the whole European Union with a common position. And with my respect, there are divisions within the European Union. I don't think about the final goal. But yesterday you were not here, but I remember that in 1999, we had the Berlin Declaration, Berlin, Germany, that accept the Palestinian state in due course. So what Germany is going to consider the due course? When there will be no land to negotiate, no people with negotiation, the due course is now, my friend.
Excellent, excellent.
The question is now. And we have to enlarge. Arab countries have to be there. There's no quartet. Turkey should be there. And even after we lead that proposal, we have to look to the world. Why not invite China? Why not invite India? Why not invite Brazil? They are the ones they are considered also. China, I can tell you, is more interested in the stability in the Middle East than the United States. Because China depends on how they are going to run their economy thanks to the energy in the Middle East. They have a vital interest of stability in the region. So we have to advance. A final question. So we have to increase, everybody is welcome there. And I appreciate the response and the intervention of our dear friend Mufti, the Muslim, the religious element. I know that is very controversial. But in this new engagement, we need a religious diplomacy also.
Mm-hmm.
But by chance this year, the three monolithic religions celebrate Ramadan, Passover, and Easter. By chance. By chance. And well, I'm a higher
Maybe a
representative
miracle.
of Alliance of Civilization. I know how to work with the three religions. They should not contribute for peace. If you go by one, they will say Shalom, Salam, peace. You go to a rabbi, you say, of course, I want peace. You go to a mufti, I want peace. You want to the church, I want peace. And how they contribute? I don't ask to have a religion settlement, but I need the religious dimension in order to contribute to peace. We all have to be soldiers for peace. We all have certain responsibility. And that will make it. Is how Europeans are going to be united, how to understand German role and other roles, how the Arabs have to work with Europeans, how the Americans will be back, because, okay, now we'll say, the first, no, the Americans, we cannot count on them. I say many times, we are waiting for Godot. And Godot never happened, never come. You can quote me in many interventions. We are waiting for Godot. Godot. What is Godot? Godot is not coming. It's a common collective responsibility. So that we have to do.
Yes, it seems that our agenda is changed and better. Well, first of all, Yossi, Hiba, all of us, we share the same opinion. Start sharing the same opinion. Two-state solution is the only possible solution. There is no alternative. And I have to say also that here I have better understood the idea of confederation, which is a creative, convincing solution for the main obstacle we have to face for two-state solution now. Well, but I think everybody agree that that solution is not now. A new leadership is needed. Maybe a different international framework. And I totally agree with Miguel Angel Moratinos that it's also important to involve new players. Because in a multilateral world, it's not only United States and Europe that have interest in having peace and stability in the Middle East. Let's see the growing relations between the Gulf and China and the influence of China in the Gulf. Well, if we need new leadership, if you can look at new Israeli election with some hope, if we have to call for new Palestinian elections, because after so many years, there is no legitimacy of Palestinian leadership, no credibility. A leadership that is today totally unable to speak to the world.
Absolutely.
Well, we have to discuss what we can do now in order to keep alive this idea of two-state solution, in order to move public opinion, governments, political parties in that direction. And I want also to raise some uncomfortable questions regarding Europe and Middle East. Because actually the reality is going in a different direction. And it's not easy to imagine what we can do if we want to reverse the tragic trend. Let me come back to the reality, to the newspaper, to the news. Today is the third day that Israel has blocked the humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. The third day, which is a crime. War crime against humanity. USA agrees. The Trump administration supports. The Trump administration supports Putin and Netanyahu. It's a new, we have to, that's the new reality. Europe disagrees. There is, in my opinion, some symmetry. We have to protect. Europe needs a just peace at our eastern borders and a just peace in the Mediterranean. It's a different approach. We have different vision, different interests, and also different values from the current USA administration. We need a leadership, European leadership, able to understand what it means. Well, Europe disagrees. There was a very clear statement, but Europe is doing nothing. Disagree, but it's doing nothing. I want to also, I read the Italian newspaper, the Vice President of Knesset launched the proposal yesterday of bombing the food storage in Gaza. While some member of parliament of Israeli parliament said that the Ramadan is the best moment to kill Palestinians because they are weak. That's news. You know the name of those people. But I'm impressed because Israel is a country with which we have an association agreement. We, European Union. And Article 2 of the association agreement provides that human rights respect, international law respect are conditionality. Let me say frankly, the agreement should be suspended. It's illegal according to the treaty and according to our principles and our values. I wonder, and I think it is a key question for Europe. It's something I want to discuss with Israeli friends, with Israelis who oppose the current political trend in Israel. And I believe that there are many. I wonder if this lack of coherence, this lack of firmness, this lack of assertiveness of Europe, this double standard, because I don't think that we cannot think another situation. Well, if everything that is useful to Israel, I doubt, is useful to the Democrats, is useful to the healthy part of Israeli society, I don't think so. I think it's time for Europe to be consistent with our values and to put really the Israeli government under pressure for something which is totally unacceptable. And let me say frankly, because I used to read the International Humanitarian Organization, even the Israeli Humanitarian Organization report, is not true that that is the retaliation for October 7th. Because, of course, what's happening is a big tragedy. But the violence against Palestinians started before October 7th. It's something which is related to the shift of Israeli society, to the growing influence of the far-right, racist. I remember, and I published my magazine, the letter of Hannah Arendt and Albert Einstein, to the New York Times, 48, about the risk of a fascist-derived trend of the extreme Zionism. They were Jewish, not anti-Semitic. It is a document, historical document, but in my opinion, that document means something also today. And if you want really to reverse the trend, it's not enough to discuss. I agree, totally agree. I share, I understand the difficult position. I admire the coherence of women and men fighting for peace in such difficult situation. But I think it's time to do something stronger. And that would be the task of Europe. Thank you. I really hope that it will be possible not only to keep the truce in Gaza, but also to go to the phase 2, which was agreed. And I think that the international community should put under pressure both parties in order to proceed, in order to work for a way out from the current situation. But at the same time, I want to stress that nothing can justify the block of humanitarian aid. And the international community has to say that strongly, because to say that strongly, in my opinion, is useful also for the Democrats in Israel. And to tolerate any violation of an international law, human rights, because it's Israel, is wrong for Israel itself, I think.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Yep.
We are discussing.
Thank you very much. Sincere gratitude again to Yossi.